time on taxes and accountants and promises or anything like that, talk to an accountant if you have questions. I'm not one. I'm an engineer. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm good at math. It just means I had to do a lot of it. But at this point in time, I really just want to stop because I don't ever get to be an engineer. Being a founder of a nonprofit, I spend a lot of time with lawyers, accountants, and you know all kinds of other stuff. So this is one of the few nights every week where I get to stop being the business person and I get to play with stuff. So I'm gonna like I mentioned disappear my face, this thing right here, and we're gonna go to that up there for the time being, and probably for another 15-20 minutes. I don't have a fancy setup yet. I'm understanding that we can set up scenes and things in the software I'm using, and there's an external platform if you're not using Twitch. We'll get to that eventually, but this is our first day, and I didn't want to overwhelm myself as much as I didn't want to overwhelm anybody else with any extraneous information. So we're just going to keep it simple today, and I'm going to pop into Twitch, and I'm going to do that easily by just growing my crazy window, and let's see if I can drag this up a bit. I just want it to fit. Dun dun dun. Okay, let's go with that. In fact, I'm gonna do something clever. Well, it wasn't. It turned out it wasn't so clever. And resize my window just a bit so we're not distracted by any of the mumbo jumbo. Cool. I think that is it. Yep, there we go. Okay, so now the awkward portion. Let's see. The awkward portion's over. And my phone is ringing and people are trying to call me. I appreciate all the attention from anybody who maybe not on Twitch, but we're gonna ignore all of it for now. So I mentioned this is Tinkercad. This is where I go when I want to make things and do things, and you can see my screen here. I'm not going to get into a tutorial behind Tinkercad and how it works. That's usually a lot of what I do. There's a tremendous amount of resources in Tinkercad. You can design 3D objects. You can design circuits. You can put together blocks of code with objects. You can take lessons in classes. There's a lot of really cool features in here. But excuse me, we use this for a lot of design, both working with veterans in workshops and outside on our own, out in our design team behind the scenes. There are things like here we're building this robot was our first prototype of a brain for a robot we're designing. This is a keychain, and I'm going to right-click on that and make it go away somewhere else for the time being. But yeah, so that is a keychain that you can see there. This is a design by one of our design team members. It won one of our contests in 2020. It is a dice tower, and I have the feeling this may make it into some of these sessions as we turn this into a printable gift for people, but it started out as that little tan object on the right, the little castle, and it through one iteration developed into a much larger castle. We have some ideas on how to make it better, so that may be something we launch into on a Thursday night for one of these design sessions, and that should be fun. Also in here we had a contest recently with some lapel pins, asking people to design their own lapel pins. This was our design team who actually took to Tinkercad and came up with their ideas for their lapel pins, which I was absolutely amazingly thrilled with. But here we're going to start with a very, very simple design. I'm going to create a new design, and I'm just going to go to Tinkercad, and here's my one tip of the night. I said I'm not going to get too much into Tinkercad and how it works, but I found recently that here's the toolbox that slides back and forth. And what I found is I like the toolbox open. But it's too big the way it is. So I can shrink it down by going to my menu and zooming out in Tinkercad. So now my menu is not as big and it's not as bulky and it's not in my face taking up half my screen. So I'm going to do that. For this session, I'm just going to shrink my screen, zoom out of my view here so I can see my workspace and see my toolbox and actually do some things. So we're going to design that keychain. You saw that star-looking object. We're basically going to design that keychain, and if anybody tonight wants to donate to the cause, we will print these keychains and ship them to you. But like I said, this is much more about giving things away while we're doing it. So I need to find us on Twitch and open that window and find our little chat. Give me a second while I look for our chat. I am terrible at this. Hi. Oh, hey, there's our team. I found our chat window. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this workspace while I'm designing for everybody out here. This is one of the very, very cool features. I'm going to copy a link, and I'm going to drop it in at the start here. And we'll see how that goes. So that's our chat sharing. If you can get to that link, you can take my design when I'm all done. It's good for 336 hours, basically 2 weeks, until that link expires. And that is for saying thank you to viewers, saying thank you to anybody who's paying attention. If you want to take my model for yourself, you can do that. You can use the cut and paste options and open up your own Tinkercad workspace and take my model when we're done. I'm telling you that's okay. That's why I shared it. And without any other further holdups or anything else, I'm gonna sadly I can't see the chat window. Oh, there we go. Okay. I'm trying to rearrange my window so I can see chat windows and screens and things. But there we go. So we're going to start by making this keychain. And it's basically all basic shapes. So we're not going to use anything crazy, anything fancy out of anywhere else. And I'm going to start with a cylinder. And I'm going to make the cylinder flat. So I'm going to click up here. I'm going to change it in the numbers by 3 millimeters. And here's the cool part, because I zoomed out on my window, I can zoom in very close. I'm just going to center on my object so I can see it. I'm going to crank the sides up so that it's all fancy and smooth. And this is 20 millimeters by 20 millimeters. I'm not a big fan of that. It feels kind of small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to 30. And I'm going to change this to 30. And I'm kind of doing this freehand off the top of my head. And I promise we're going to end up with the same model. I'm going to slide it over again. Actually, I'm going to do that number right there. Now, I want to make, I don't like the sharp edges because it just doesn't feel right to me. It looks like a coin instead of, something that hangs on your keychain. So let's talk about some design. We can get rid of the sharp edges by putting this donut around it. Yep. Okay. It's not a donut. It's called a torus. That's the technical shape right there. Is the name for it is a torus, but I call it a donut because, like Homer Simpson, that's much of what I think about. I'm going to get this out a little bigger, like that. And I'm going to drop this down to, let's say 2.75. Let's try 3. I'm going to drop it in there. What I'm looking for is this lip right there. See that little edge? It's almost like a piece of molding that fits around this. So it gives us this disc, this round disc, this soft disc. But it gives us a flat surface. So now we've got this like pocket watch shape. And I'm gonna call it a pocket watch as we get to further along. I'm going to unfold my shape characteristics. I want to crank up the sides so it's a little smoother, and you can see that right there. It got a little smoother in the steps. I'm going to back up because today I'm not all about design and telling you how to use these features up here, like aligning things and grouping things. I'm going to go through this a little bit faster. I'm going to grab all my objects, and instead of grouping them, I want to align them like that. So this is kind of like the speed course for more experienced people in Tinkercad. So now I've got this disc, or this soft donut with a flat surface that I can work on. And my pocket watch is pretty complete. I could put it together and say I'm done, but I'm not happy with that yet. That still doesn't look like a very cool keychain. So I'm going to add this tube. And now I'm going to focus on the tube. So the tube is going to be the loop. We're going to make this a loop like that. We're going to add this. We're going to combine all of these to